Numbers don't have egos. Spreadsheets can be manipulated, and executives will absolutely lie to your face to secure a bonus. But raw data is the only absolute truth in the corporate world. My name is Clara. I was the principal data analyst and business intelligence architect for a massive, publicly traded retail empire. My job wasn't just making pretty charts for board meetings. I designed the massive big data pipelines and enterprise data warehouses that tracked every single transaction, every canceled order, and every cent of revenue across the globe. Using advanced predictive analytics and complex SQL queries, I built the architecture that translated raw, unstructured chaos into flawless financial reality. In the world of corporate finance, a tiny rounding error can cost a company millions. But intentional data manipulation, that destroys entire empires. Most executives are terrified of the actual numbers. They prefer the narrative. They prefer the fairy tale. And when a new, highly ambitious sales director decided to write his own fairy tale to secure a massive promotion, I was the only one standing in his way with the actual receipts. If you have ever been the only person in the room who actually understood the math and had an arrogant boss try to silence you to hide his own incompetence, keep watching. Welcome back to Scars and Silk. Hit that subscribe button right now, because today, I am going to show you exactly what happens when corporate greed goes to war against an impenetrable algorithm and loses everything. The fragile peace in our corporate ecosystem was shattered by the arrival of Thomas, our new director of sales. Thomas wasn't a technical guy. He was a charismatic talker obsessed with aggressive key performance indicators, KPIs, and securing a massive end-of-year bonus. He wanted the vice president title, and he was willing to break the system to get it. To make his mark, Thomas completely bypassed the data analytics team and rushed the deployment of a new, untested, automated dynamic pricing algorithm directly into our global e-commerce platform. The goal was to aggressively optimize profit margins in real time based on user behavior. Almost immediately, the Q3 third quarter revenue projections absolutely exploded. According to Thomas's dashboard, the gross merchandise value, or GMV, was up by 40% in a matter of weeks. It was a completely unprecedented, miraculous spike in sales. The board of directors was absolutely thrilled. They were popping champagne in the executive suites, treating Thomas like a visionary and publicly fast-tracking him for that vice president promotion. He was parading around the office like a genius who had just cracked the code to infinite wealth. But in the world of enterprise data warehouses, miracles do not exist. When a massive, mature corporate pipeline suddenly shows a 40% frictionless spike in revenue out of nowhere, it rarely means you have built a better product. It almost always means your code is broken. Numbers don't lie, but front-end dashboards absolutely do. And as I watched the raw, unfiltered data streaming into my servers, I realized Thomas wasn't generating tens of millions of dollars in new profit. He was generating a catastrophic financial illusion. I didn't trust the dashboard, so I bypassed the front-end reporting tools entirely and went straight to the raw transactional ledgers. I executed a massive cross-database audit, joining the real-time payment gateway tables directly with the raw e-commerce sales data. It took me less than an hour to find the catastrophic mathematical flaw buried deep inside Thomas's precious new algorithm. His code wasn't generating new sales. It was generating false positives. The algorithm was fundamentally broken.
It was aggressively logging canceled orders, duplicated shopping carts, and even declined credit card transactions as cleared net revenue. It was artificially inflating the Q3 projections by completely ignoring chargebacks and returns. The 40% growth wasn't real money. It was ghost revenue. And the exact moment the Q3 financial books officially closed and reconciled with the actual bank accounts, the company was going to hit a devastating multi-million-dollar deficit. It was a massive compliance disaster waiting to detonate. I printed the raw SQL query results, the undeniable mathematical proof of the data corruption, and walked straight into Thomas's office. I placed the hard data on his desk and explained that his algorithm was creating a massive financial liability. I told him it needed to be pulled offline immediately to protect the company's data integrity. He didn't even read the report. He just glared at me. "This is pathetic, Clara," he scoffed, literally sliding my audit into his trash can. "You data people are all the same. You have absolutely no business acumen. Now you are suffering from corporate envy because my algorithm is doing what your entire department couldn't. You are trying to sabotage my Q3 projections just to stay relevant." I calmly told him that federal financial auditors wouldn't care about his corporate vision when the actual cash flow didn't match his fantasy dashboard. Thomas stood up, his face red with fury. He accused me of being a toxic presence in his high-performance culture. He fired me on the spot for gross insubordination and picked up his phone to order IT to revoke my administrative database access immediately. He thought he was protecting his promotion. He didn't realize that I was the only person keeping his entire fragile system from collapsing.
I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. When a toxic executive demands the right to crash the company car, sometimes the most professional thing you can do is hand him the keys and step off the road. I calmly walked back to my desk to pack my things while IT prepared to lock my credentials. But there was something Thomas didn't understand about enterprise data warehouses. Raw data is naturally messy. The only reason the company's executive dashboards functioned at all was because of the custom ETL, extract, transform, and load pipelines I had built completely from scratch. For years, I had written advanced, proprietary data cleansing models and automated cron jobs that ran silently in the background, fixing data anomalies and preventing systemic crashes before the board ever saw the numbers. Because those advanced SQL scripts and data models were my personal intellectual property, coded on my own time and completely outside my official job description, I wasn't about to leave them running for free to protect a man who had just fired me. Before my screen went black, I simply disabled my automated cron jobs. I shut down the proprietary ETL pipelines and cleanly extracted my custom data cleansing models from the primary server. I didn't break anything. I just let the system revert to its natural, unfiltered state. I want to pause the story right here. I am talking directly to every brilliant woman in tech, data, and engineering. Have you ever been the invisible backbone of an entire department? Have you ever watched a loud, incompetent boss take credit for the flawless system you built in the shadows? Go down to the comments right now and drop a chart, graph, or a lock if you know that true corporate power lies in the code they don't even know exists. And make sure you hit that subscribe button to join the Scars and Silk Network, because you need to see exactly how fast the illusion shatters when the data stops lying. Back to the story. I handed my laptop to the junior IT guy, walked out of the corporate headquarters, and went home. The end of the third quarter, the Q3 financial close, was exactly 3 weeks away, and the raw data was finally off the leash. For 3 weeks, Thomas lived inside his artificial reality. But in the corporate world, reality always comes due at the fiscal quarter close. The day of the Q3 earnings call finally arrived.
the board of directors, the chief financial officer, and the major institutional shareholders gathered in the executive boardroom to finalize the public financial reports. Thomas was sitting at the head of the table, practically glowing, waiting to present his miraculous 40% spike in gross margin to the world. But without my proprietary data cleansing models running silently in the background to mask the errors, the system was no longer protecting him. The raw, unfiltered data from his broken e-commerce algorithm flooded directly into the enterprise data warehouse. Every single canceled order, every duplicated shopping cart, and every declined credit card that his algorithm had falsely flagged as cleared revenue was now completely exposed in the raw transactional logs. When the CFO attempted to reconcile Thomas's shiny front-end BI dashboard with the actual cash sitting in the corporate bank accounts, the system threw a catastrophic data discrepancy alert. The numbers didn't just miss the target, they completely imploded. The miraculous 40% growth vanished from the screens in an instant. In its place, the raw SQL queries revealed the truth: a devastating 8-figure revenue deficit. The company wasn't just losing money, Thomas's automated pricing algorithm had completely destroyed their financial compliance. The CFO turned pale. He realized instantly that if the board presented Thomas's fabricated dashboard numbers to the public shareholders, they wouldn't just be embarrassed, they would trigger an immediate federal investigation for severe corporate fraud. The champagne in the executive boardroom was immediately replaced by absolute cold sweat panic.
The executive boardroom descended into absolute chaos. The CFO demanded that Thomas immediately explain the massive 8-figure data discrepancy. Sweating completely through his expensive suit, Thomas frantically opened his laptop and tried to manually manipulate the front-end BI dashboard to hide the deficit. He thought he could just override the numbers, but he was a sales director, not a business intelligence architect. Without my automated ETL pipelines actively structuring the complex relational databases in the background, the raw data was completely unmanageable. The moment Thomas tried to force a manual recalculation, he triggered a catastrophic cascade of system errors. The front-end dashboard didn't just show bad numbers, it completely crashed. A massive red data governance failure warning flashed across the 80-inch boardroom projector. The board of directors sat in stunned silence, watching in real time as Thomas's entire web of fabricated metrics unraveled in front of their eyes. It became painfully obvious to everyone in the room that his miraculous Q3 growth wasn't a business strategy. It was a deliberate compliance violation. With the official external fiscal audit scheduled to begin in less than 24 hours, the company was staring down the barrel of a federal financial investigation. If they couldn't produce clean, accurate, and mathematically sound transactional ledgers, the board members themselves could face criminal liability. Cornered, humiliated, and entirely out of options, Thomas was ordered out of the room by the CEO. He walked into the hallway, pulled out his phone with trembling hands, and called the exact principal data analyst he had arrogantly fired just 3 weeks ago. My phone rang at exactly 2:15 p.m. The caller ID showed the corporate headquarters. When I answered, Thomas didn't sound like a confident, visionary executive anymore. He sounded like a man who was watching the walls of a prison cell close in on him. Through the frantic background noise of the boardroom, he begged me to come back to the office, fix the SQL queries, and make the data discrepancy disappear before the external fiscal audit began. I was sitting in my living room, watching the raw data logs update on my personal monitor. "Thomas," I said, my voice completely cold, "I don't work for you.
I am currently an independent forensic data consultant, and I cannot make the deficit disappear because the deficit is real. But I can reconstruct the system architecture to pass the federal compliance audit. He asked me, his voice trembling, what it would take for me to fix it right now. My emergency ETL pipeline reconstruction fee is $2 million, payable immediately by wire transfer, I stated clearly. And when the data is clean, I am returning as the new global chief data officer. I will report directly to the CEO, not to sales. And I get absolute veto power over any algorithm deployed on the company's network. You have exactly 2 minutes to put the CEO on the phone to authorize it. When a multi-billion-dollar company is facing imminent federal prosecution for corporate fraud, budgets become entirely irrelevant. The CEO took the phone, agreed to every single term, and the $2 million wire transfer cleared my account before I even finished my coffee. I didn't drive to the office. I opened my encrypted repository, connected to the enterprise servers remotely, and deployed my custom data cleansing models. Within minutes, my automated scripts purged Thomas's phantom revenue, restructured the relational databases, and generated a flawless, mathematically perfect financial report. The real data saved the company from the compliance audit, but it absolutely destroyed Thomas. The finalized report served as undeniable forensic proof of his deliberate data manipulation. He was terminated immediately for gross misconduct and was subsequently sued by the board for corporate fraud.